What made the weird kid at your school weird? He shit himself regularly deliberately. He walked around like Master Chief. Even tea-bagged the ground randomly, all while holding an invisible assault rifle. He truly thought he was a dirtbag. He would run through the halls jumping off of lockers and make the shifting gears noises with his mouth. Absolute mad lad. He would have full conversations, arguments, and sometimes physical altercations with a brick column in the middle of the cafeteria. He always carried around a briefcase but never opened it. Sat on the briefcase during lunch, classes, etc. It was like the nuclear football, always in his hand or he was sitting on it. He carried it onto the stage during graduation, got his diploma. Right as he was leaving the stage, he opened it up and dumped a bunch of confetti on the principal. I guess it was the long con? No one questioned why he was carrying it on stage. He was on a hair trigger, would snap and threaten people. Suspended multiple times. 2 memorable incidents were when we freaked out at an art teacher, went to his locker and came back with a bullwhip. He made that thing snap and sent everyone running. She barricaded herself in the supply room. Another time someone made the mistake of teasing him about something and everyone laughed and he pulled a knife and screamed, "Who wants to be the first to die?" He was expelled and I'm not sure what became of him. There was a kid at my high school who never talked. It wasn't that he couldn't speak or that he only spoke to his close friends, he just wouldn't speak to anyone. Teachers didn't call on him because they knew he didn't talk. When a substitute would come in and try to call on him, there was always some kid who would have to explain, "Ricky doesn't talk." If you asked him a question, he would just look at you. It was weird and some people would take offense to his silence. But eventually everyone realized that was just his thing and rolled with it. The only time he spoke was when we had to present individually in class. On those days people would get really excited if they had a class with him because hearing him talk was like seeing a unicorn. Edit. A lot of people have mentioned this possibly being a case of selective mutism. I looked up the diagnosis and it seems like a good match. There were also rumors from kids who rode the bus with him who said that once he got off the bus, he would meet up with his neighborhood friends and, presumably, talk to them. When he did present in class, he didn't have a weird voice or any strange vocal qualities. Edit 2. Oh wow, this really took off. I never thought my most influential comment would be about Ricky, haha. Thank you for giving me my first ever Reddit silver. I really appreciate it. A lot of people have asked me if they knew Ricky. I will tell you that I went to school in Kentucky and I graduated in 2013. If I give any more information publicly, I would feel like I'm violating his privacy, and that's not cool. If you still think you know him, I'll continue to respond to private messages and confirm or deny your guess. I have also been asked to add a link to our selective mutism for anyone who wants to find a supportive community of other people like Ricky. In high school we had a kid that wore his pants up to his nipples. So he was called Pants all through high school. He was very strange. Got way too close to people, purposely liked to slowly touch people and creep them out. Always walked around on his tiptoes for some reason. In grade 12 he tried to poison someone just to see how it felt. 2 years after high school he got put in jail for killing a hooker. Weird. I didn't have any weird kids in school. Oh no. He wrote his crush's name on the wall in the bathroom with his own shit. They caught him brown-handed. Also would freak out if someone said werewolf. He was always running around in the shape of a 8. If you just said hello to him, he started screeching and attacked you with his lunchbox, and once he ate a Kit Kat with the plastic. She was afraid of cows, and if you said moo or mentioned cows, she'd freak out and attack you. I'll give it to her though, she'd even try to attack guys 3 times her size that were athletes. In 8th grade, this girl used to finger herself in class. She wasn't good at hiding it, hands under a hoodie in her lap, and we all noticed the room would start to smell bad. There is a kid at my school and he can't put his laptop down. Eating lunch on his laptop, as soon as he finishes a test on his laptop. And we were all wondering what he could put his laptop down for. So one kid asked him. He was designing Minecraft skins and watching Minecraft videos. I was in year 10 when he came up from primary school. I don't know what was wrong with him, but he'd always pretend to be a train and chug along through the quad. People would chuckle as he went past, but he didn't care. Him and his other weird mate would just scoot on by minding their own business. When I was in year 11, one of the Scratter kids, a proper Hmong through and through, blocked his tracks and took the mick out of him. A group of us shoved him out of the way and berated him for it and encouraged Train Boy to go on his way. Ours wasn't the best school in the district, but goddamn, at least the trains ran on time. His go-to excuse for not having homework finished was that he was traveling, even though he was at every class, and he never paid attention to anything but his fidget spinner unless he was talking. The way he spoke, he knew everything there was about creative writing, yet his submissions consisted of plots ripped off directly from an anime. This was in a college class. I went to high school with the wolf kid from the meme, on all levels except physical. I am a wolf. Next image is him barking at the water. He called himself Wolfie. So I would say that guy. He would talk to himself and sit in the hallways reciting as many digits of pi as he could. He was a small harmless kid that everyone treated well because he was endearingly weird, if that makes sense. Then he murdered a girl immediately after graduation and hid her body in his bathtub. Edit. For the people interested in more or who think I'm lying, the kid's name was Jonathan Townsend. There's a lot more to the story. I didn't think many people would be this interested. There's a few news articles to look at just by googling his name, but this one does a good job of explaining how nice he was at school versus how evil he was at home. https://thewhours.ca/how-health-canada's-health-system-helped-create-a-create-killer/. I had a girl hiss at me in 5th grade. Hadn't seen her in about 16 years. Recently went to a party she was attending. She asked if I remembered her and said, "Boy howdy?" She hissed again. I always knew she was weird. Mustard boy. I'll never forget him. He would cover his lunch tray in mustard. Chicken nuggets? Mustard. Mexican pizza? Mustard. Breakfast for lunch? Mustard. It didn't matter what it was, he would drench it in mustard. He wasn't doing it just to make a mess of his lunch tray, he always finished his mustard food. Edit. Mexican pizza was a hexagon-shaped pizza with sausage and shredded taco seasoned cheese on top. It wasn't at all Mexican, but that's what it was called. They thought they were an immortal vampire and walked around talking and acting the part. She carried a stuffed rabbit everywhere, only wore leggings, and constantly propositioned people to have a threesome with her and her boyfriend. Edit. She wore leggings as pants, and this was before that became a trend. I had a locker above his and he always yelled something stupid. The most common phrase was "I got balls in my face." He also somehow brought cola poop to the school. Edit. There was a possibility that it really wasn't cola poop, but it was small brown pellets in a small bag with a cola on it. He would jack off in the middle of class. He didn't actually pull it out, but he would aggressively rub the side of his pants, and his face would get really red while staring at the girls in the class. Everybody noticed, but a word was never spoken about it. We had like 3 weird kids tbh. The first one was the guy that I saw pour an entire bottle of water onto a sandwich and then eat the sloppy mess, making weirdly appreciative noises. He's the one that ended up coming to school with a gun, but according to our school, handed himself in to the police. The second was some kid that never showered, apparently had a Russian girlfriend who was pregnant. But he had no evidence of this girlfriend. Had some weird obsession with making stabby things out of anything. And lastly was this girl that literally just wanted to fight everyone, looked like a space raider, and said a shitload of racist and homophobic stuff. She ended up leaving the school after she picked a fight with the wrong person. Edit. Holy shit, I wasn't expecting this to blow up. Space raiders are a type of British crisp, but you Americans call them chips. I am in fact from England, not Florida, haha. My weird kid stood up at an assembly and asked the vice principal if she knew what hentai was. Edit. She did not comment on whether or not she did, he was just told to sit down because the students immediately started laughing. Sorry for the unsatisfying ending. He shit at school, weird enough, but would have the cubicle door open. He would then wipe his butt, then hold the tissue up to his face and smell it. I'd like to just add, this all happened within 30-odd seconds or so. Me and a mate were going to the toilets to smoke before next lesson. The cubicles were around the corner from the urinals when we turned the corner lad, who shall not be named, who might I add, had no known learning disabilities or mental issues, wiped his bottom, then sniffed the toilet paper that he just used to wipe his bumhole. True story. I don't condone being a pervert, however yes I'm a bit weird, but in no way went into the toilets to see a pee-pee or some guy sniff his poo-poo. Gosh, where do I begin? He was weird but more creepy. He wore a kilt to school, rumors say with no underwear, on multiple occasions. He talked about how attractive his sister was to the point where a lot of us wondered why he moved to Minnesota from, no shit, Alabama in the middle of the school year without his sister or dad. He brought his mom's dildos and vibrators to school to try and sell them. He ended up getting expelled for that, but a lot of people say it was because of the amount of girls who came forward and said he was following them home. Edit. Wasn't expecting this to become my most upvoted comment. I texted my friend who had a lot of classes with him, and she told me some more things about this kid. He masturbated during class while they were watching a World War II documentary. He got suspended for this. He would hide under the bleachers during assemblies and play the kazoo during the national anthem. Rumor has it he would also pinch people's butts. Male or female? He ate playground gravel and used the urinal with his pants and underpants all the way down. Edit. Wow, this blew up. I guess I'll just add that the kid I'm talking about ate the gravel because apparently he thought it tasted like pizza, and that I distinctly remember one time when me and a bunch of other kids were huddled around the bathroom door watching him do his business, and I just remember that bare ass and how weird it was that someone would use the urinal like that. So this is Kit. Kit was that kid that ran to each class with a rolling backpack and tow. He was small, had glasses and your cliché general high school target. I'm not sure if he ran between classes because he got bullied or what, but he must have. It got to the point where he was basically on the defense all the time. I had even tried to be friends with him at one point just because he sat by me and he just snapped back at me. He wanted no part. I honestly think he had trust issues, and I don't blame him. Because he would react, it kind of made him more of a target. I had seen him multiple times where someone stepped in front of him or heckled him as he rushed along, kicked over the backpack, etc. It actually just sucked to see. You would stand up or say stop it, and it would just continue, and he almost seemed embarrassed that you did something about it for him. So anyway, senior year, we have a speech going to be made by the valedictorian, and then the school votes on someone to make a speech. Someone started telling people to vote for Kit as some fucked up joke. Kit won. I specifically remember my English teacher sitting us down and talking to the entire class. I think probably all the teachers went as a unified force in defense of him. They told us Kit had had a lot to deal with the last few years, and the people of this school voted for him basically as a cruel joke, but this could really be a defining moment for his high school career, and just begged us to let him have it. I think most of the people in the school weren't bullies, but all it would take is one person to ruin it. Day of graduation, Kit made a great speech. It was almost 15 years ago, so I'm sorry to say, I don't remember what he said. But the entire class, like 1,200 students, actually listened. At the end, we all cheered. Like crazy cheered with standing applause. You could tell it was a good day for Kit. He was so happy and maybe even relieved. Here's a kid who had been bullied for years and is being cheered and supported by a crowd of 1,200 plus of his peers. No one should have gone through the bullying, and I'm sure he went up there with a lot of anxiety, but he certainly left the stage with a huge smile on his face. Edit. Hey, I'm like super happy I go to tell this story. I'll never forget this kid's face, he was just so happy, I'll never forget it. It was very touching. And like I said in other comments, I don't think I remember what he said because I remember being nervous someone was going to fuck this up for him. I think someone yelled "yeah Kit" when he got up there, but that's it, whether it was in a mocking way, I'll never know, but no one responded or fed into it if it was. Also, those who don't want to believe the story, I'm sorry. I get the why would someone go on the internet and tell lies? But it was something that happened. For those asking if this was their high school, you'd know because we had the honor of being the first class to graduate in the stadium, and it started raining as we were walking to the stadium for graduation. They decided not to cancel, hoping the rain would hold out. The stadium had no roof. If this sounds familiar, then yes, it was probably your high school. His dad started a house fire, insurance scam, and died in the fire. This was around 6th grade. That messed him up a bit. The kid would tap his feet and hands uncontrollably, and he talked about shooting people. Looking back now that we know what it is, most of the weird kids I knew growing up probably had depression, were abused, or were autistic. She wore bat ears and a black cape and would scream her name while running down the hallway Goku style. Her name was Elizabeth, but she asked that she be called Lizard. Edit. Apparently there are thousands of lizards running around the US, and we are 100% about it. Long live the Lizard Queen. Second edit. Yes, I meant Naruto. I am anime illiterate. I apologize. I had a few. One was obsessed with all Asian culture, kind of random since we lived in a very rural community in Canada, with little connection to the outside world, let alone to Asia, and would lose her mind if anyone said anything remotely negative about it. It started out as mainly just a fixation on Pokemon, anime, and pop, but quickly branched out to all things Asian. She once hit me with a textbook because we were discussing M. Butterfly in class, and I said that I didn't like it. This was at age 16. Another kid used to pick his nose until it bleed and then go home because he had a nosebleed. He would also eat the boogers. We were all surprisingly chill about that part of his personality. The thing we all hated most about this kid is that he would lie about the most random stuff. Like he would deny that he got hit when playing dodgeball or caught when playing tag on the playground. One time my neighbor made me a little inukshuk glued to a piece of driftwood, and I brought it to school to show the class. This kid picked it up in front of everyone, immediately dropped and broke it, and then denied that it was him that broke it, even though we had all literally watched him do it. He cried when we continuously called him out on it. This was also at age 16. Edited to added that the lying kid one time broke his arm and came to school in a sling the next day. The sling was on the opposite arm. Even the teacher called HM out on that one. There was a kid in my school who was obsessed with Mario. He had Mario sweatshirts and notebooks and a Mario backpack. Well, someone figured out that if you told him Mario is dead he'd flip. Scream and cry fuck you know he's not every time. He got in trouble multiple times for attacking kids who said anything about Mario dying, even if they were talking about in the context of Smash Bros or something. This happened 8th to 10th grade, then I never saw him again. He whistled don't worry be happy. Always. I changed in the bathroom instead of the locker room. Apparently that made me super fucking weird. Edit. I did this in middle school, phased it out sometime in 9th grade, mostly because it took too long. In high school he wore a tail and a anime hat, and sometimes on the way up from the gym, he'd clutch his chest as if he'd been stabbed in anime warfare and collapse somewhere down the hallway as if he'd been killed in battle, and it would happen just out of nowhere. I'd be walking behind him and bam surprise anime scene with groaning, and all he was a really solid guy and had a good heart. He was just really odd at that time. Edit. It hurts my soul that this is my most upvoted post across all accounts. He brought a used condom he found into school. Kid look exactly like T-Bag from Prison Break, instantly was treated as if he had the same personality and so was seen as weird. Deleted. He once asked me to be his gay slave, so I don't even know how to feel about that. I just wanted some Yu-Gi-Oh cards that I wasn't even going to use. Kid always wore a zoot suit. Every day. Not that weird I guess. But back in high school, weird as fuck. Edit. Some more details. These were not Salvation Army hand-me-downs quality. This kid wore nothing but high-quality zoot suits with a chain and nice shoes to match. Every once in a while he had a chrome-tipped black cane. He had bright-colored ones, pinstriped ones, dark blue ones, and pure black ones. Didn't see him with the hat very often though. This was in 2005-6. I think he won Best Dressed in the yearbook. I don't have one to confirm though. EDIT number 2. A letter. When I was in kindergarten I brought cheesy broccoli in for show and tell. It was my favorite thing that my mom made to eat and I wanted to share it with everyone. I was really excited too and helped her prepare it the morning before school and thought everyone would think it was cool. I brought something everyone could eat instead of something like a toy like most people. The rest of the class was not as excited as me and no one, except the teacher, and I think maybe my friend Nick, ate any of it. I was a bit disappointed that nobody liked it, but at the same time was happy because it meant more for me. From that day on I was the weird kid that brought vegetables to show and tell. Luckily, my friend Nick was also weird, and so was Juan that came to our class the next year, because although we were the weird kids of the class we weren't alone. He hugged everyone. Everyone. Admitting that he puts cucumbers and carrots up his ass and masturbates to his mum and sister, also sucks his own dick. What the fuck? The vine where a kid goes, "I have the power of God and I'm on my side," and screams like a banshee went to my middle school. He was maybe 4 grades underneath me, but his weirdness turned him into one of the most popular kids in his grade. Not exactly the weird kid, but definitely the kid not many people wanted to interact with, was very pushy, generally awkward. Also often tried being all cool by using big words but failing miserably. But the thing that took the cake was when some girl sent to the entire grade something along the lines of "say your name X times, say your parents' name X times, and then say your crush name X, and in a few days your crush will be with you." And he actually responded to the email. It was an awkward year till his crush left EDIT1. The crush did not leave because of him or anything. This was an international school, so it was quite common that students would come and go, plus the country we're in, not gonna mention name, is not in the best conditions these days, so that may have been one of the reasons. The reason I'm here is because of my mother's work. Anyway, thanks for all the upvotes at it too. Thanks for the silver kind stranger. This kid literally acted like a robot and everyone hyped him up for being that weird, it was so cringe. He would solve these average math problems in a basic math class and everyone thought he was a genius because he was taking all AP classes. He would literally sit in class and bite his thumb when he was confused and yell out when he was angry like an infant. And oh, the stench, someone never taught him about God. Robbie, if you're ever reading this, I hope you made something of yourself in college. Edit. To clarify, everyone knew how weird he was, despite hyping him up acting like him, which I never understood. He hated his real name, but couldn't change it as his parents wouldn't let him until he was old enough. So he asked everyone to call him the name he wanted. If anyone called him by his real name, he would flip out and start screaming, crying, throwing stuff, etc. Needless to say, everyone called him by his real name just to see him flip. The senior gift that year was mugs with your name written on it. Sure enough, his real name was on the mug. Dude flipped out and threw it on the ground, smashing it. He was also a witch that practiced harnessing his energy into balls in the middle of class. He was also angry at his parents for circumcising him, claiming that it wasn't his choice and they mutilated his body without his consent. He was wicked smart too, coded, worked with electronics, etc., but had no social skills, so never went to college. I was really good friends with his brother, who was teased because of his brother. His brother was normal. Edit. I want to point out that while he did really weird things, if you got to know him he could be pretty cool as long as you didn't trigger him. But I think that's it with most people, as long as you're not a dick to them, they can be pretty cool. Edit 2. I can't remember if the circumcision thing was in high school or Facebook years later. Edit 3. There were probably many circumstances why he didn't go to college. I just always assumed it was because of his behavior, extreme mood swings, which is what I meant to say instead of social skills. Edit 4. So many people attached to their foreskin. Who would have known? He had really dry skin and would peel it off in sheets during band. I caught him snacking on the pieces a few times. Well, had one guy that was always talking big shit, faking injuries, bent my ankle so I can't practice, liver is burning, etc., always drew pentagrams on shit, took Japanese so he could get a waifu, just all around a fucking creep with girls too. Well, go arrested for CP here last month, I wasn't surprised. They would play tag and run around the cafeteria in high school, acted extremely childish and had no manners. There were 2 of them. Half of me cringed from their doings, the other half envied their self-confidence and lack of care about what others thought. Edit. Pretty sure one was a furry. He gave himself a swirly because nobody ever got one in the 3 years he was there. Edit. Forgot to mention, it was in the urinal. He was caught eating berries off of a tree branch in a compost trash can in 5th grade. He'd act feral around everyone else, but if you got to know the kid, he was actually pretty down to earth and cool. In middle school around 6th grade, I tried getting to know him better and found out he might have had some kind of multiple personality disorder and was grateful for someone who didn't judge him that much. I'd try my best to not get him to do stupid shit. He was later expelled for what everyone said was biting a teacher. I saw him once during high school and he got really fucking hot too, seemed way chilled out. When I asked about why he left, he said he wasn't allowed to talk about it but was getting help, so that's always good. Gabe, if you're out there, I hope you're doing well. I personally thought he was alright, but he has the typical nerdy look. I think it was when people were stomping ants and he went into a crying rage, threatening to kill the people responsible, that made everyone see him weird. She wore long, multicolored, mismatched socks pulled up to her knees. She didn't so much as sit in chairs as she perched in them, knees to chest kind of thing. She dressed and looked like a boy at an all-girls school. She had that "I don't give a fuck what you think of me, here let me prove it by doing something really strange" kind of attitude. Loud, kind of crazy, unashamedly loved anime and metal music, did the whole goth thing as best one could with a school uniform. Frequently reminded everyone at a Catholic school that she was atheist and proud of it, caused several fights between her and the theology teachers. Weird as shit and one of my best friends. I think I'm seeing her on Sunday. I'm looking through all these to make sure no one's talking about me. There was a girl in grade 5 that created her own language called Schmolby, and she'd sit in the corner and whisper to herself in it. People also used to tell her there were spiders on her hair, and she'd get mad at them and scratch their faces. She purposely grew out the nails on her index, middle and ring fingers, and filed them into sharp claws. To be fair, telling someone who is clearly not completely all there that they've got spiders in their hair is probably not going to end well for you. She ended up leaving the school in grade 6. Aside from that, in grade 3 I microwaved a kid's winter boots in our lunchroom because I thought they were the reason he ran faster than me. I was just fat. That was why he was faster. Edit. The crazy person was the first story, with my second story being a funny addition, but it seems as though everyone is more concerned about my boot heating antics. I accept the role of crazy. I am the crazy. He ended up being the valedictorian for my graduating class, but his refusal to use a locker and carry all of his textbooks in his backpack led to severe back issues, resulting in him wearing a backplate throughout high school. I believe he also has Asperger's, so he wasn't social either. I didn't talk to a whole lot of people in high school, so I usually just people watched with my friends. The weirdest kid had to be the guy who looked like Fat Thor. He wasn't muscular or nothing, just looked like him. He always had a dead look in his eyes and walked around slouched over. He wouldn't really bother about personal space either, he was just there, and if he got close to you then he got close to you. Wasn't really anything you could do about it. Honestly, almost like he was on another plane of existence. She was a furry who tried recruiting people into her newly founded furry religion, where the type of furry you were spiritually was based on your birthday, like some fucking astrology BS. She also had a boyfriend who was into the whole furry thing, but in a really weird sexual way, cause they'd make out on the floor or in the lounge areas and growl at each other, and it just made everything uncomfortable for everyone at it. This happened in my first year of college, if that adds to the weirdness. Teachers had to make a public announcement banning people from making out and doing all that romantic stuff on campus BC of how bad it got. Raise your hand if you came in here to see if you made the list. I was the weird kid. I ran around in a Minecraft hoodie, one of those you could zip up all the way so you had a creeper face. I was fucking autistic, and I don't mean that as a joke, I mean real diagnosed autism. And it showed. A lot. One walked around in high school with a stuffed possum and made it talk in class. Also went on a rant during a class debate about how much she hated Australia because a classmate from there rejected her. Had nothing to do with the debate topic. One claimed she was the CEO of her dad's company and made $1 million a year at 16. Also said she was the granddaughter of the King of Norway. She's not from Norway. Also tried to claim that her friend was killed during the 2011 Oslo terrorist attack. Again, not from Norway or Europe for that matter. Somehow I got classified as weird, but I'm really not sure why when I think about how many other weird kids went to my school.